Good evening, everybody. We are kicking it off this evening with if you want to apply to the Makeover webinar with me, Kirsten Green. I'm the Managing Director of Retired Racehorse Project, and Raina Erasmus, who is our Program Assistant and also the Secretary of the Thoroughbred Makeover. So she interfaces most closely with our trainers throughout the year. So we're gonna just give it one more minute for people to kind of get on and get settled. Let me know if the sound and everything is okay, and we will get started here in just a moment. Sound is good. Sound is blessed by Kristen Bentley and also Megan over on Zoom. So I'm going to say away we go. So welcome everybody. For those of you who celebrate, we are just a few days out from December 1st, which if you are versed in Makeover, that means that we can start riding our Thoroughbred Makeover horses for 2022. So it's very exciting. This year, we did a lot of work on our application process for how we go through that with our Makeover trainers and how that application is structured. We just wanted to give it a big update because we haven't really changed much about it since we started the Makeover in its current state back in 2015. And as most people know, it's evolved and grown and become a big behemoth of a thing. So we find that these webinars are helpful for people who are interested in getting involved. So here we are sitting down with you for kind of Ask Me Anything style session. So we're going to go over kind of what the Makeover is, what's new for 2022, and then we're actually going to show you guys the application and go through some of the fine details on that. So just quick housekeeping, we are live on both Facebook and Zoom, so we've got attendees in both places. If you could just put your questions, if you're on Zoom, in the Q&A section, and on Facebook, please just go ahead and comment, and we will be breaking periodically and scrolling through to see what we can answer over the next hour or so. All right. So introduction to the Makeover. What is the Makeover? What is RRP? So RRP, the RRP, is the Retired Racehorse Project. That is the 501c3 nonprofit organization that puts on the event that is called the Thoroughbred Makeover. A lot of the time you will see statements that a horse is RRP eligible. Technically that's not the right vernacular, but what it means is that the horse meets the criteria to participate in the Thoroughbred Makeover, which is the event that the RRP produces. What is that event? So it's a training competition. It's a showcase of the versatility and trainability of the Thoroughbred breed. It's the most lucrative of its kind. Basically, the way that it works is trainers, and we call everybody a trainer, regardless of their professional, amateur, junior status. You are the person who is training the horse as a part of this process. So we call everybody a trainer. Trainers apply to participate first. So we're looking first at the trainers and their experience level, their background with training, particularly green horses or thoroughbreds. So we go through that process first, and that's the stage that we're at this year. So we'll go through that, and then trainers are accepted in February, and they can enter an eligible horse, and then they train that horse all year long. And then there's a big blowout 10 discipline horse show at the Kentucky Horse Park in October. So for this year, that is going to be October 12th through 15th of 2022. Notes. So the makeover is designed to serve a particular population of horse. So that's a horse or a thoroughbred that has had a race or published work in a particular time frame, and that time frame advances with each year. So we're focusing on serving a horse that has recently retired from racing. So that means that horses that are eligible for 2022 are going to have had a race or a published work on or after July 1 of 2020. So a race or published work that can be verified in a public records database, whether it's Equibase or any of the registries abroad, we can look those up too, but we're going to be looking, that is how we define a horse as being an OTTB. That's the standard that they have to meet. There's lots of horses that were bred to race, came up, went through the sales, all that sort of thing. But if they don't have that published work, we set that bar as being the publicly verifiable like status of how we were going to make it easy to define who would be eligible. So it's servicing this particular population. We do like to say it's a really good goal, and we remind people a lot of the time, people get very focused on, am I going to make it to the makeover with my horse? Because it is, they're only eligible once. So a lot of people get really hung up on, can I get there? Can I get this done? It is a timeline. It's a real timeline. It's a commitment. It's a commitment of resources, financial, energy, everything. It takes a lot to get a horse to the makeover. And so for that reason, it's also not for everybody. It's not for inexperienced riders. It's not for casual participants. But if you're still down with all of that and you understand that you could invest all of this and potentially get to the halfway through the year and realize my horse isn't going to be ready, or most of our participants are women of childbearing age. So statistically, somebody's going to get pregnant. We kind of make that joke every year, but it does happen. Life happens, horses, don't develop, or, you have the unfortunately timed abscess or some other injury. So you also have to be prepared to understand that you might not make it. If all of those risks still sound bearable to you, and you are game to take this on, the sense of achievement of showing your horse at the horse park and the horse that you get at the end of all of this is, I think most people who have participated will agree, is pretty gratifying. And the community that we have established is really like none other. We have kind of garnered the term most happy horse show on the face of the planet or something like that.
Happiest horse show on earth.
Happiest horse show on earth. And it sounds corny, but I think it's really pretty true. And it says a lot about the community that we've developed. So if you're down for all of that, welcome. And we'll take it from here. So we covered what the makeover is, when it is, where it is. We touched on eligibility. So there's a few finer points to eligibility. So we talked about when they had to have their race or published work to make them eligible. But the other key part of that is that these horses cannot have seriously started training for a new career after they exit track life. So they can't have been ridden more than 15 times post-track prior to that December 1 date that just passed. So the 2022 horses can have started working December 1 of this year, 2021. Somehow we get all these dates and manage not to fumble them very often. We acknowledge that it's a lot to keep in mind. That's have to race or work after a particular time, or no more than 15 rides prior to the start of competition, which we consider to be December 1st of every year. And if I can just add about the 15 ride limit, the 15 ride limit is not really meant for you to kind of get away with starting to ride your horse. It was really designed to be evaluative. So if a horse is at an aftercare facility or with a reseller, it gives those people an opportunity to let prospective buyers try the horses. That's really what the intent behind that was. It's not really just like okay, if I like keep my schedule and like I could just do this much prior to December 1st, that's not really what the intent was. So please don't violate that rule. We take that very seriously. We do get reports from members of the public and other participants turning people in that they believe have violated that rule, and we do investigate that and take it very seriously. So please don't be one of those people on our list this year. And then we touched also just kind of on the general timeline. So the way that it's going to work this year, we're in that application period for trainers. So applications are going to open for a review process starting December 15th. So basically what that's doing is we used to have these like prolonged application periods, and they would always start in December and they would end after the holidays. And nobody wants to deal with this during the holidays anyway. And then what we always had was a mad rush of people post holidays that were trying to get their applications in. So basically what we did is we said, here, you can get logged in, you can have a look, you can start drafting, you can start gathering your materials, hit save, come back. You know, you get several weeks of that if that's your jam, but at least you know what the application looks like, how you're going to get started. And then we're going to open for submissions after the holidays. So that's going to be a period from January 3rd to January 21st. That's when you can hit that submit button and put in your applications. So those are the dates that you want to be really focused on. But we wanted to make sure, particularly with the changes to the format and criteria this year, that people had an opportunity to get familiar and make sure that you guys have plenty of lead time to organize videos and paperwork and all that sort of thing. What's also new for this year is that deadlines, these paperwork deadlines, whether it's trainer applications, horse registrations, are always going to be on a weekday and are always going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. None of this, like, they're going to close on the 31st, no matter what day that is, not doing like midnight submissions. Like, it's for us as an office, Raina and I are here in the Maryland office, and there's only technically 1.5 other people that work here besides us. And all of the traffic for administering the makeover comes through this office. So there's 3.5 of us, and there's several hundred of you. So that's why we're setting those deadlines up that way. What am I missing so far? Closing date. So again, January 21st, that's when the application period closes. If you are missing any application material at that point, if you have not paid your fees, if you have not filed your participation agreement, if you do not have your vet references on file, we're automatically waitlisting you. Anybody that wants to apply after that point will go on the wait list as well. Anybody that lands on the wait list is going to be subject to a $75 late fee. Okay, we've spent a lot of time over the last few years doing a lot of follow-up and a lot of chasing, trying to help people get their application materials in, and we cannot continue to do that. So we're not going to be reminding you to pay your fees. We're not going to be telling you you have missing criteria. We need our participants to be proactive and check off and make sure that they have what they need. And we put together a lot of resources and materials for you guys to try to help you make sure that you have a successful and efficient application process. This webinar is one of them. I'm going to go turn off the speakers that are playing in the other room.
Okay.
If you want to cover
The videos.
Okay. And I'll be right back.
All right. So one thing that is also new for 2022 is that everyone, regardless of if you've been an accepted trainer for the makeover in the past, have to submit videos with their application. So that's also going to be team members, team captains, individuals, everyone. If you're planning on jumping, you'll need your flat video along with a video of you doing a course of jumps that are 2.6 or higher. And you'll want discipline specific video. So if you're doing ranch work, show us some ranch work. for everyone. So that's a pretty simple change. And we do have a sample video available on our website as well. So if you have done a makeover in the past and haven't had to submit a video, I would start preparing that now. But that is the first and pretty new, first and pretty easy change that we have for 2022.
So Raina, why make people do a video of them jumping 2-6? Like, why is that?
So that is just to show us that you are going to have a safe and positive experience at the makeover. So if you're selecting jumping as your area of expertise and what you most expect to participate in the makeover, it's going to show us that you are going to be able to come to the makeover and handle the environment at the Kentucky Horse Park and safely navigate you and your horse over a course of 2-6 or higher. The minimum height that we have available at the show is 2-6, which is why we require that 2-6 height requirement in the videos.
Okay, just taking a pause here to check for questions on Facebook and Zoom. Brooklyn, I see you have some questions about team stuff. We're going to get to that shortly. Okay. All right, so we talked about dates and deadlines and wait lists and late fees.
Here, I'm going to jump in for the question about fox hunting. You should supply both. I would supply a video of you jumping, of course, over 2-6 or higher, and some video out actually hunting if you can, or even just cross-country schooling to show video of you out on terrain jumping more solid natural fences.
Okay. And then Angel wants to know, how long should our videos be?
I think it's, well, overall, is it 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
I think we published 2.
Yeah.
Apologies. Our brains are kind of mush from editing the rule book over the last few weeks. But the thing is that this can vary a little bit, to show a full course of fences, a minute.
Yeah.
Right. But please don't send us TikToks. Please don't send us Instagram videos.
Yeah.
Those things are not sufficiently long enough to just adequately demonstrate what we need to see. I think, the sweet spot is somewhere in the 2 to 4 minute range.
Yeah.
We don't need anything that's highly produced. You don't have to give us slides. You don't have to give us music. A collage of still photos is not a video.
No.
Just kind of giving you guys some answers to go off of here. We're going to get a little bit into resources farther down this agenda here, but there are on the want to apply page on our website, along with other resources, there's also a do's and don'ts for your video, which is going to give you some specs of this is a useful video and this is a not useful video.
And I'll jump in and say, because in the application, which you'll see later, we have it parsed out now where you're going to submit a link for your flat video, submit a link for your jumping video if you're jumping, and submit a link for your discipline specific video. So it should be around 2 to 4 minutes in total. You don't necessarily need 2 minutes of flat, 2 minutes of jumping, 2 minutes of obstacle work, but don't give us 30 seconds of flat work and then 2 minutes of jumping, or 30 seconds of flat work and then a collage of a whole bunch of different barrel runs that then equals up to 2 minutes. We need to see all the requirements, and that should equal up to 2 to 4 minutes throughout those videos. If you have it all in the same video and you put that link in each field, that's fine too, but it needs to show everything.
And we'll talk about this a little bit more too when we review the actual application, but there's an application committee of, maybe half a dozen or so, plus this, number of people who are tasked with looking at the information that's provided to them and making a determination about whether or not you're likely to be safe and have a safe and positive experience over the next 10 months. And also at the makeover itself, which has a very big show atmosphere. And, we're just trying to make the best determination that we can, that people are going to have a good time, both for them and their horses. And the application committee can really only go off of what's made available to them. So if that helps you when you're trying to formulate how to put together your videos, I find that that's a good way to consider the whole process. Like, is what I have written in my application and is my video like putting forth the best picture of my capabilities as a horseman?
Yeah, I think that also there was 2 questions in the Zoom chat. No, when you submit your application, as long as it's before that January 21st deadline, it's not, we don't do first come first serve or rolling basis. So it does not necessarily benefit you to submit it earlier, but I definitely wouldn't advise that you wait until 5 p.m. on the 21st to submit your application.
We do kind of like a preliminary review of applications as they come in, and we do our best that, if your video is not going to be sufficient, we do try to let people know. So in that sense, it does help if you can get your stuff in earlier, because then that gives us more time to get back to you and say, hey, we're going to need more video to make an application decision on you. So always better to get things turned in early, because that gives us more opportunity to kind of do an audit and make sure that we have what we need to be making a decision in your favor.
Yeah. And then 2 questions in the Facebook chat before we move on to the other rule changes. If you apply for ranch riding, then decide your horse is a better jumper than ranch horse, can you change to jumping without that video? So that's a good question. If you apply and you put your main area's expertise as a non-jumping specific video, and you don't specific discipline, and you don't supply us any jumping video in your application, you will automatically have a limited non-jumping restriction on your application, but you would be able to send us a video of you jumping to have that restriction lifted if come final entry in August, you're deciding that you want to do jumping instead. But if you jump, you should just submit a jumping video with your application to begin with, and then you won't have that restriction. You won't have to worry about what happens when you decide that you want to jump your horse instead of doing ranch work.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole concept of, does my riding or does my application, adequately describe all of my capability? So if you do have jumping experience and you're leaving that off the application, you're not giving us the most comprehensive picture of your capabilities. And just to be clear, this application that you guys are about to be filling out is just about you as a trainer, and it doesn't lock you into anything in October. There's separate processes that go through getting your disciplines declared, and that doesn't happen until much later in the summer. All we're looking at right now is, who are you, and are you likely to be able to complete the tests that are offered at the level that we offer at the competition. So that's kind of how we're trying to frame the application to make it more cut and dry for the applicant, not cut and dry, but just make it a little bit easier to make a determination and to hold people to the same standards.
Yeah, going along with this is an application about you. It's not necessarily about your makeover horse. We have a question here about someone's horse is frisky right now due to the cold weather. For the flat video, should they use a different horse? Absolutely. You should not be using your potential makeover horse in these videos. We want to see you on a well-schooled horse in these videos, because you want to put your best foot forward. So if that means borrowing a horse from a friend, going to take a lesson somewhere, but definitely be on a better schooled horse, not necessarily something green, definitely not your makeover horse, something that's going to be able to show off your riding and your experience as much as possible.
And that could vary a little bit depending on your level of capability and your experience. If you're a very seasoned professional that rides, oodles of green horses a day, this might not be a problem for you. But if having a green horse is not necessarily going to showcase your capabilities at their best, then find a different horse. As far as we're concerned at this stage of the process, we're not worried about who your horse is. We're worried about you and your riding capability.
And we definitely don't expect your makeover horse to be jumping a course of 2.6 or higher in December and January.
Yeah, please, that just raises a lot of other questions for people, so just maybe don't. Okay. Let's see, so we answered Megan's question live about submitting early. Brooklyn, yes. Can we submit video of us at the makeover this past year for jumping? Yes, that would be perfect. Competition videos make it super easy for us to make assessments. That would be the perfect choice of video. Melissa also asked if they're on a first come first served basis. No, they're not on a first come first served basis. We have the applications close on a particular date and then we assess them all at once. For eventing, when you say discipline video, what would you submit? I would include cross country in your video offering.
Yeah.
You know, we want to see, like, do you have the skill set? So if you're leaving out cross country, you're not giving us a complete picture of your riding ability.
Yeah, if I was applying as an eventer, I would submit a video of a dressage test from an old competition as my flat video. I would submit a video of a show jumping course as my jumping video, and then in the discipline specific area, I would include some clips of me out on cross country.
Yeah. Okay. What else is new for this year? So one of the bigger changes for this year is that we're requiring all team members to complete an application. So previously we only required that the team captain complete an application, and it's become clear to us that we need to make sure that we are holding all of the team members to the same standard. Again, just being focused on making sure that you're likely to have a positive experience throughout the training process, and also in particular, safe and positive experience at the event, and not doing an application and doing an assessment on the team members leaves us wide open on what that result could be. So the way that the fees work is that if you are an individual or a team captain, you are paying $300 per horse. If you are a team member and you have not already applied in some other capacity, like you don't have an individual entry and you're not captaining another team, then it is $150 once. If you are an individual and a team captain and you are on somebody else's team and you've already applied, you're not paying another $150. We're just making sure that we're capturing an application fee for every participant. And so that's how that's structured. Otherwise the fees haven't changed. It's still $300 per horse. We reduced the number of team members required to 2. So that means just 2 people to make a team, but you do need to demonstrate that you can actually train the horse together as a team. So you need to have some kind of geographical tie of, we boarded at the same barn, we go to the same school. You know, the team option is meant for people to share in the process throughout the year. And so these 2 people need to somehow demonstrate that in their application. And then the limit, so it's 3 horses, $300 per horse, 3 horses. And so the most, and that is the most that you can be affiliated with in any way, shape, or form throughout the makeover. So that means you could have 2 horses as an individual trainer, and then you could be on the team of a third. You could be on one team with 1 horse, you could be on one team with another horse, and then you could have an individual horse. It can be any combination thereof. This also includes catch riding. If you catch ride for somebody at the makeover, that counts towards your 3 horses. So logistically, when people get into the 2 and 3 horse range, also keep in mind that scheduling for you is going to be tight, and there's just no way around it. So just keep that in mind before you commit to the number of horses, because when it gets down to it, there's not that many people that end up with 3 horses, and getting those people scheduled is difficult. We're game, we're going to make it happen for you, but we need you to understand and be flexible that there's only so many ways that we can slice giving several hundred people ride times in 10 different disciplines. So that is stuff for teams. So we covered the fees and why we did it and how the fees work. No new questions on Zoom. I'm gonna just cover the other bigger change. So The finale and preliminary competition are now effectively separate competitions. So what that means is that the preliminary competition that takes place on Wednesday and Thursday of the makeover, we will pin, first through 10th in those divisions. We also do top place junior, amateur, and team. That's going to be awarded based on preliminary competition. Any special awards that we have, like top Kentucky bred, Delaware Park, all of those like kind of special interest group awards, that prize money is all going to be awarded based on the results of preliminary competition. And we're going to try to do, the competitor party should be back this year, like barring any like new public health excitement. And we'll do awards at the competitor party on Friday evening. And then the horses that are advancing to the finale, so that's the top 5 horses in every discipline, are entering the finale on a clean slate. And that core prize money, that $400,000 prize money that the RRP guarantees, that's going to be distributed based on the outcomes of the finale competition. Okay, so a little bit of a change, but I think it should be popular logistically for us. We hope that will provide a better experience for people in terms of celebrating their special awards and achievements, and just kind of gives a little bit more celebration to the 2 competitions as kind of separate parts. So there's that. And then the last little bit in terms of rule changes is that for those of you who are returning trainers, before you are able to access the application, the system is going to force you to update us on the status of any horses that you have previously entered in the makeover that haven't already been marked sold. We have a heck of a time getting people to update us on the status of their horses. And so this is like one of the only ways that we could think of to start getting a better result on gathering that information. And this is going to be regardless of whether or not that horse was included in the ASPCA makeover marketplace. So we need to know what the status is of all of our graduates. And this is a step that we were able to put in to start improving that outcome. Please, I think we will cover at some point to access the application. You need a free user account on our website. If you have an account with us and are having trouble getting into it, please let us know and let us help you, because all of your makeover history is tied to your existing account. And so it's like an actual administrative nightmare for you to go through and create a new account, because all of your history with us gets lost. It doesn't get lost, but it becomes like associated to a separate entity that is not your new account. So please make sure that when you're getting started, and now is a good time. This drafting period that we've established between December 15th and January 3rd is a great time to get logged in, make sure that everything's in order, and just have a look around and start doing those status reports. And you can do that status report anytime. You don't have to do it as part of the makeover workflow. Any trainer at any time can log into the trainer portal and do a status update on their previous makeover horses. So another thing that you can just get out of the way and not have to worry about during the application period. So
Cameron wants to know why we've made the change to separate the finale completely. Would you like me to answer?
Go for it.
Okay. I think one of the big reasons is honestly because it'll make the finale a bit more exciting. You see a lot of these horses come in with a really big lead into the finale, and some of them might, like some other horses that maybe placed 5th come in and put the best trip down of all 5 horses, but they started off in 5th place in the preliminary competition. And so they aren't able to bump up maybe as much as they should, because there's been such a gap in their scores that they pulled over from the preliminary competition. And we also know that the covered arena environment is a pretty stressful one for some of the horses. So I think seeing which horse is going to perform the best in that environment is really going to show us which horse should be coming out as first place and as a contender for the overall makeover champion.
Yeah. And remember that we're still awarding like a completely separate set of ribbons and everything like that. So it's not like your preliminary result has like is pointless. We're still celebrating that. We're just separating them out into two competitions. Brooklyn wants to know, if you're competing as an individual and a team captain, do you have to do 2 applications?
So I'm definitely gonna go over that a bit when I walk you through the application, and I think it'll be a lot more clear. Yes and no. You'll have to go in and submit your individual application, and then basically you'll go in again and click the apply button again and just toggle it to team captain and fill out the team captain information, but everything else should autofill. So you shouldn't have to like complete everything again, but you will have to submit it twice.
There'll be 2 submissions,
yes.
submissions, but the second one should auto-populate.
Yes.
And that's only if you are competing all like as a captain and an individual.
Yeah, if you're an individual and you're, let's say, bringing the max of 3 horses, just go in there, select 3 horses, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to submit the application 3 times.
Right.
There's some other questions about videos and stuff, but I think I will end up addressing a lot of that when I get to that part, and if not, at the end, I can answer those questions.
Georgette, you wanted to know where to get the applications to fill out. It's not live yet. We enter that drafting period on December 15th. And then Raina's actually gonna log on and show you exactly how to navigate to that on our website. But it should be, you need to go to the trainer portal, and I hope to God the trainer portal is like one of the most obvious things from our homepage on our website. So, but we'll get to that in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, yes,
Resources.
I think it's time for trainer resources. Shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All panelists. Okay, should be good now. Share screen.
All right.
Let's do
All right, so go to tvmakeover.org. The first thing you'll want to do, if you don't already have an account with us, if you already have an account with us and you can't get logged in, email secretary@tvmakeover.org and I'll help you out. But the first thing you're going to do is go and click that subscribe button and make an account with us. You can either do that by subscribing to our magazine, or you can create a free website user account, and that login is going to be the same login for the portal, which we will get to in a bit. So one place you'll definitely want to go to is the want to apply page, and it's first of all just going to break down a bit more about the makeover for you, and so you can really determine if this is something that you want to do. And first and most importantly is the 2022 rulebook. I know a lot of you are not going to want to do it, but I'm going to really encourage you all to read it from cover to cover. There's a lot of really important information in there, and I promise you it has everything you could ever need to know about all the dates and everything to compete in the makeover.
I have to tell you, we as a staff like turn ourselves inside out trying to write with clarity, trying to put together resources, not only the rule book, but also this want to apply page on our website, the sample videos, all of this sort of thing. Like I talked about at the beginning, like there's only, 3 of us and several hundred of you. And while we are absolutely here to help, we try to make sure that all of the information that you need is out there in a self-serve way. Not that we're not interested in helping, but truly we've tried to make sure that answers are readily available in all different manners. So,
Yeah.
You as a competitor who are signing up to participate in this thing have an obligation to understand and make use of the resources that are available to make sure that you're having a good experience. So.
Yeah, and it goes over everything. I won't dive too deep into it, but all the deadlines are there, the eligibility, everything about the application. horse eligibility, how prelim competition is going to work, how finale competition is going to work, sample scorecards, everything. And I'm going to circle back for a second to the account because I forgot to mention this. Do not unsubscribe from our mailing list. If you unsubscribe from our mailing list, you will not get the trainer emails that go out that have reminders about deadlines, or if new information pops up or anything, you will not get that. So if you unsubscribe from us because you don't want to get emails about the store, you're also unsubscribing from trainer communications.
And those emails are like the official form of communication.
Yes.
We do utilize text messaging services if you opted into that on your application. And we have Facebook groups and we have our main Facebook page and all that sort of thing. But anything that is an official communication from the RRP, any kind of announcement, any kind of change is not going to be made via social or anything like that first. It's always going to lead with an email. So you guys want to make sure that you're subscribed, that it's not landing in your junk. And if you're having any trouble, let us know, because that is always going to be like the first and foremost method of communication.
I think while we're talking about official forms of communication, I'm going to step on my soapbox for a second. The trainer group is great, but it is not the place to go to ask for questions about rules or eligibility. If you have questions regarding how the team is going to work, if your horse is eligible, like, is this video going to be acceptable for my application? You need to email me, and that's secretary@tvmakeover.org. Don't post that in the trainers group, email it to me. If you post it in the trainers group and it's a question that's never been asked before, we might answer it and immediately turn off comments, but if it's been answered before, we might not approve it, or if we approve it, we're going to tell you to search the group or email me, and then we're going to turn off comments, just so that we can avoid having people, especially with all the new rule changes, coming in, trying to help and giving you information that might not be correct. But if you email secretary, you're getting the right information. And we really would prefer that you use the group for training and for networking. It is a great group and it's helping a lot of people, and it's just a great way to connect with people and make friends before the makeover as well. But it is not the place to get your information regarding rules.
And neither are staff Facebook
Yes.
Messenger inboxes.
Please do not message us on Facebook. If you friend me on Facebook, please don't be offended if I don't accept your friend request. I try to keep the two pretty separate. So
yeah, it is. And it's also just a matter of efficiency. Like, it's not that we don't want to be your friend, but the fact of the matter is that like our Facebook pages are also for personal use. And so if you have a burning question at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, that goes through to us during personal time and doesn't end up in our work inboxes, where we are much more likely to remember to respond to you during normal business hours. So help us help you, and get in our regular email inboxes and not our Facebook inboxes.
yes, and same goes for like the RRP Facebook page. If you message that inbox, it's not really an efficient way to contact us. You're just going to get
It's
an
just
auto
gonna
reply
tell
telling
you
you
to
to
email
email
us.
us. So you could save yourself the step and just email us, and as soon as we are back in the office, we will get back to you. And so that is my soapbox. So I'll go back to trainer resources. So obviously the next button would be the want to apply webinar, which is where we are right now. Is this being recorded?
Oh, shoot.
Well, we're going to start recording the webinar now.
Oh, dear.
And the recorded webinar will be there.
But actually, since it's on Facebook, Facebook will
Yes.
automatically like archive it in the video section. So not all is lost.
No, you will be able to watch the whole thing on Facebook, and we can get creative and screen record it and whatever if we have to.
Hello? Why are you here? I'm live on Facebook right now.
Okay, sorry.
It's been a long year.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Okay. So then there's the 2021 Thoroughbred Makeover video. So if you click that link, it's going to bring you to a playlist on YouTube from all the finale videos and other videos from the makeover. So that can just give you a good idea of how it all runs and what the past winning horses have done. And just a lot of fun stuff to watch there. So then we have the application guide. And this is basically a step-by-step process of what the application looks like, what every section is for, how to fill it out. Like, you're just not wanting to scroll. So you can review this now so that you're prepared for everything when you start drafting your application, or if you wait until January when you start submitting your application. But also feel free to print it out and have it with you while you're filling out your application. I think that would be very helpful to just refer to it as you're completing it. And it should answer any questions that you have. And if it doesn't, you know who to email.
So just for explanation, my husband just stopped by and wanted to, Mr. RRP, stopped by and wanted to give me a treat, and didn't know that I was on Facebook Live, and so just threw Reese's peanut butter cups Christmas trees, which I accept bribes in the form of any seasonal Reese product. Has to be an egg or a tree or a pumpkin. Like, that's the only acceptable form. But anyway, now you know a little bit about me.
Fastest way to
Yeah.
pierce and grease heart. So yep, that's the application guide. And then the sample video. So this is obviously very important, and we've had a lot of discussions about it today already. I'm not going to play it for you guys, but if you click it, there's me, that's my face. I'm going to go through basically what your video is, what the requirements are, which for the flat, we want to see you walk, trot, canter, walk, jog, lope, whichever is your preferred terminology, in both directions. We're going to want to see you halt, back up, transitions between gaits. So, you know, a dressage test would definitely suffice. But if you don't do dressage, just flat work at home, in a lesson, in a competition, whatever, that shows all three gaits in both directions as well as transitions would fulfill that flat work requirement. And then for jumping, like I said, video of a course of 2.6 or higher. All your videos must be from within the last 2 years. So 2 years from whenever you submit your application.
So there's a question about this in the Facebook feed about somebody who their last jumping video that they have is from 2019, and their arena at home is too small, and like, that's a very legitimate problem to have. And like, we have some leeway there. What we're trying to say is I don't want I did Metal McClay back in 1990, and I then took a big break from riding and had a family, and now I'm coming back to it, and there's no current video of me riding a horse. Like,
Or here's a video of like a VCR tape, or like that's,
yeah,
it needs to be recent.
I have legitimately gotten stuff like that before, and like, I'm very happy for you that you were very successful in the pony jumpers, 30 years ago, but a lot can happen to us in 30 years.
Yes.
And or less time, honestly. You have a fall, or you just go away from horses and come back and don't have the same confidence that you do. And we're just trying to make the best assessment that's the most current assessment, and we just can't do that with video that's incredibly old.
Yeah. And I would say if you have an indoor that's maybe big enough to set up a couple jumps but not a full course, get creative with it. Make it 8 consecutive jumps, even if it's not 8 different jumps.
Yeah.
Set up a bending line, make it a rollback, do everything in each direction. Like, that would be my go-to. Yeah.
We don't want, 3 consecutive clips of grid work or something like that.
Grid work is not sufficient, which is also in the sample video. It has to be a course, but a course in our mind doesn't necessarily have to be 8 different jumps.
Yeah.
Just
I think they said a sequence of 8.
Yes.
Like
so
that.
if you do a bending line, and then you roll back to another jump and then you do the bending line the other direction, whatever, that's perfectly fine. And so for the person asking with their videos from 2019, you can include your videos from 2019, but I would also suggest that you set up what jumps you can in your indoor and take some more recent videos as well. And if it's not sufficient, we'll get back to you and let you know, but we do understand that like it doesn't always work out that way. But if you can, another option is always to go take a lesson somewhere. If you know someone that will let you borrow a horse to jump a course of 2-6, or if you have a trailer and you can take your horse off property, that works as well. But definitely just get creative with it. We understand that like you might not have the ability to set up a full course at home, or you might not have a video that's exactly 2 years old, but it should be pretty recent. And if you can get creative and just set up a couple jumps and do them all a couple different times and turn it into a course, that works too. But yeah, grid work is not going to be accepted for that 2-6 or higher requirement. So that's the jumping portion of the video. And then moving like that, you'll only need to submit that if you select jumping as the discipline of expertise or what you're most likely to enter in the makeover. Then that will populate a box for you to submit a jumping video. If you don't select a jumping discipline as your area of expertise, but you still jump and you might want to jump, you're going to have an extra box on the application. You might as well use it and show us videos of you jumping so that we can lift that jumping restriction right off the bat. But you can also always add that later, but there might be a late fee. We do reserve the right to administer a $75 late fee at any point. So if you want to lift your jumping restriction in July and we have to go back to the application committee and have them review it, there might be a late fee involved. So if you have that video, I would go ahead and submit it before January 21st. And so the next part of the videos obviously will be the discipline specific video. I did see a question, someone asking if they would have to submit 3 different videos if they are barrel racing. No, in that case, you probably would just need your flat video and your barrel runs. I just said 3 videos because as you'll see on the application later, we have quite a few different fields, but not all of them are required.
We've talked a lot about jumping videos because that's, obviously the majority portion of discipline specific skills that we need to document. But we also need to see flat work videos and, for people who, maybe don't do dressage and don't do an incredible, like a ton of flat work all the time, sometimes have a hard time conceptualizing what do we want to see. If you're a dressage rider or an event rider, and you have existing tests, that's great. But if you go into the trainer portal, there's a section for competition tests and patterns, and there's a couple of flat patterns that we've developed for specific disciplines like the ranch work and like the barrel racing. So performing one of those patterns would be the perfect way to accomplish what we need to see in the flat work video. So if you're having a tough time figuring out, and for the jumpers too, there's a flat pattern in there as well, which would be a great demonstration of what we need to see.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of added help there.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the sample video as well is a great reference because it's going to show you examples of videos that we would not deem as meeting our requirements and ones that we would. And we'll answer some of those questions as well. And like Kirsten pointed out, things like barrel racing and show jumping where you wouldn't normally have a flat portion of, in a competition, you will at the makeover because it is a training competition. So we do things a bit differently. It's not like an average show. So barrel racers will come in and perform a flat pattern. So will our show jumpers. So if this is your first time doing the makeover, definitely look in the rule book and look at the different discipline formats because it might not be how you're used to showing.
There's nothing like showing up at the makeover at the show jumper in gate being like, what flat pattern? That really makes us real happy. Anyway.
And would not make you very happy. So those are the videos. And then we have our sample that reference here. So everyone is required to submit a vet letter. And that will have to be signed and dated on letterhead from your vet. No, it must be within 60 days of application close on January 21st. It
60
doesn't,
days prior.
yes,
That's like a
Yes.
point of confusion sometimes. We need that before your application closes.
Yes.
Not within 60 days
Mhm.
after. the
And
date of
it has
close.
nothing to do with your makeover horse. The vet letter has to simply state that your vet believes that you are capable of caring for a thoroughbred that is transitioning off the track. So you can get that vet letter today. You can get it tomorrow. Your vet doesn't necessarily need to even come out to your property. If you have a good relationship with your vet, call them up and say, hey, can you write me this letter? Put it on letterhead, sign it, save it, and you'll have it to upload when you go to work on your application. It doesn't have to have a specific horse's name. It just needs to state that your vet believes that you are capable of caring and feeding for a horse that is transitioning off the track. So don't wait to do it. Do it now. So then the trainer portal is right here. Right here in yellow, really easy to access. I have the new version, so I'm going to click over here. But if you click there, you'll be able to log in to your trainer portal, and that will be using the same login from the account that you created earlier or the account that you already have if you have one. So here's your trainer portal. You have all your important dates here on the right. Just as a reminder, those are also in the rule book. And
Those will be on the bottom of the page if you are on mobile, just FYI. It's
yes.
a stupid website thing, but that's just how it is. So if you're looking for them, just keep scrolling.
And if you have a laptop or a computer, I would suggest not using mobile whenever possible.
Yeah.
The trainer portal and our websites in general are a lot less mobile friendly.
Which we're working on.
Yes, we are working on.
For what it's worth.
So you have all your important dates here. Write them down, put them on your calendar. Don't forget them. And then we have tons of other resources here. So we have the competitor information, once again, linking you to the rule book, to your entries, to the different tests and patterns. You can report the sale of a previous or current makeover horse here once the horse is registered.
That's what we were talking about earlier. If
Yes.
you are a previous makeover trainer and you're returning and you have horses registered with us from previous years that you've not previously marked sold, you're going to be prompted for an update. So you can go ahead and log in and have a look at that now and log any updates that you have.
Mhm. And then more trainer resources. Here's a link to our Facebook group. So I guess once they're accepted, they can join the trainers group.
Yes, the Facebook group that we have that's Thoroughbred Makeover Trainers only is accepted trainers only.
Mhm.
So if you've been waiting to get into that group, that's not available to you at this time unless you were a previous makeover
Yes.
participant.
If you're a previous makeover participant and you haven't joined the trainers group, you can do so now. If not, once February 15th rolls around, so long as you get the email that says you're an accepted trainer, go ahead and join that group. Make sure to answer the prompts or else we can't accept your request to join. But that is a great resource. It's a great way to network, great way to just meet the people that will also be attending, great way to find some training tips. It's just a great group. And then obviously our regular Facebook page is there. For volunteers, and we have just a general thoroughbred makeover group that anyone is welcome to join. And then once we have all of our webinars, they will be linked here as well. This is a link to all of our 2021 webinars, so that's a good way to just familiarize yourself with the process. You can look at all the webinars that we went through for last year's makeover as well.
And those aren't necessarily just unique to like processes around the makeover. We've also put together a lot of good informational webinars with experts in veterinary fields and nutritionists and people who are professionals in marketing to help with putting together ads for your horse. Marketing yourself in your journey and doing your own PR. Like there's lots of really good resources in the previous year's makeover webinars. So hop on and have a browse through those as well.
Yep. And the last thing is the competitor newsletter. So when we send out those e-blasts to you guys, we at least try to upload them there. Right now, because we haven't started this year, there are not any there. But that's a good place to look if you don't feel like you're getting our emails. But if you don't feel like you're getting our emails, definitely email me and I'll have a look to see what's going on. Like I said, like Kirsten said, that's our primary way to communicate with you guys. And it's really important that you're receiving those emails there. Check your junk folder as well, but definitely don't unsubscribe from our mailing list. And if you have unsubscribed, send me an email.
So before we jump into like actually reviewing the application itself, we're just going to take a pause and cover some questions. So Natalie wants to know if you're on a team and can one team member do one discipline and another do another discipline? So basically that's how teams work, but more than one person has to present in the discipline. So if you have a team that is just the minimum of 2, you're both going to have to ride in both disciplines. All of the disciplines have a split that enables us to accommodate the team aspect. You know, in some disciplines it's easy. So you like in eventing, you've got your 3 phases, and so at least, you know, you'd have to split it between the 2 of you. Things like polo and the jumpers have a split in the middle to accommodate the 2 people. So it has to be presented by at least 2 people, but some disciplines can accommodate 3. Freestyle, go nuts, you could have a bunch of people in there. So that's how it has to work, but everybody gets to do 1 or 2 disciplines regardless of whether or not they're a team or an individual entry.
Yeah, that was one thing that I meant to address earlier, was just because we've brought the team member requirement down to 2, you still have to have 2 people riding in each discipline that you enter the makeover. That doesn't mean that your team member, if you're a expert in eventing and your team member is an expert in hunters, it doesn't mean that you have to be experts in the same discipline, but you're both going to have to ride the horse at the makeover in both disciplines.
Yep.
So
fundamental,
yes,
like primary purpose of it being a team. Kayla says, I'm interested in doing barrels and was curious if we're allowed to take the RRP horse to local NBHA events for exhibitions and also for entering shows. Please, for the love of God, show your horse.
yes.
Please, like lots, as much as you can afford to, as much as you have the time to go to horse shows between December 1st and October 12th.
Yeah.
Go to shows, get out there. We put a lot of emphasis on preparedness, and the more you get them out there and accustomed to traveling and being at these environments, you know, they're race horses, they've been places and they've done things, but this is still different for them. So the more that you can get them out and get them exposed and, you know, to a competitive environment, the better weekend you're going to have in October. So please, all the showing, all the clinics, all the overnights that you can manage.
As long as it's after December 1st, go nuts, go everywhere.
All right, let's check Facebook over here. Let's see. Alexander says, this seems very specific and more strict. It is specific. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this event is a commitment and it's not for everybody. And we as the hosting entity have a responsibility to make sure that the people that are participating in this event and taking on this process are as prepared to do so as we can possibly verify. That's our obligation. We are asking you to acquire and care for a horse that is just coming off the track and care for them throughout a transitional period and prepare them for a large event. And our application process has not been updated over the years to evolve with the event and make sure that we're finding out what we need to find out from our application process. So yes, it's a big update. And I think that once you have a look at the application, I mean, this is a lot of information and I can understand how it could be a little bit overwhelming. I hope that by having these webinars and having these Q&A sessions, that'll give you guys and having all of these resources, it'll give you guys an opportunity to kind of like sift through it and digest it. On the one hand, yeah, it's a lot of information, but I think, you know, we can look at the thousands of people that have participated in this event and the hundreds and hundreds of people that have come back year in and year out, that it's not that complicated, but we're just trying to make sure that we're doing our part to ensure that the people that are participating are going to have a good time. You still, oh, you want to take my charger? Yeah. Talked about Val and her old jumping videos. Jessica wants to know if we can submit barrel videos if they're vertical. I'm not gonna like immediately disqualify something that's vertical as long as we can see. That tends to be the trouble with vertical videos. So we may ask you for additional video. It kind of depends on the quality of it. Similar, one of my jumping videos was not zoomed in for portions of it, thus the horse I was riding are somewhat hard to see. As long as you can see the horse and rider, is that okay? Yes, it's, what we're trying to avoid is, we've gotten videos of people who are like, here's me doing my flat work in the back of my back 40 over the crest of a hill at dusk. Please make a decision based on this. So, if you're worried about the quality of your video, sending more video is always an option
taking
too.
a new video, if it's super zoomed out and we're not really going to be able to see how you're navigating the course, that is going to be a problem. But if we can still see how you're riding that course, it shouldn't be much of an issue. But more video is always a good route.
Bridget wants to know, when do schedules get posted, both with specific ride times and just general discipline schedules? So we try to make sure that we have a provisional schedule posted as early as January. It's actually drafted right now. I'm working with a couple of people on refining a couple of things, and we hope to have that out very soon. So the provisional schedule usually gives us an idea of on what days each discipline is going to run over the finale. I can tell you right now that there are some disciplines that will run on Thursday, on Wednesday and Thursday, and that's going to be hunters, jumpers, dressage, eventing. Those are always 2-day disciplines. Competitive trail tends to be a 2-day discipline now as well. Field hunters is broken out over 2 days. It doesn't require 2 days, but due to size, but just due to format, we have to run that one over 2 days. The rest of them will be 1-day disciplines. And then we're working on potentially adding in some additional stuff to the schedule. So I just need to have a look at that and get some things finalized before we can leak that to everybody else.
Ride times themselves, like September.
Yeah. So the way that we make 10 discipline horse show work is that we give ride times, regardless of whether or not that discipline traditionally has ride times. That enables us to keep things running on time and make sure that everybody's going to get where they need to get without having a impossible conflict in scheduling. So the kind of we talked about some of the early deadlines, but once you guys will register horses, and then you have until the end of July to register horses. You can change your horses around until July. And then we have what's called the final entry period in August. And that's the event planning form. That everything hinges on that form. That's how we put together our program material. That's how we're putting together the ASPCA marketplace catalog. That's booking stalls, that's finalizing everything. That's when you're going to make your discipline decisions. And then after that, in the early part of September, we'll publish ride times and stall assignments and all that sort of thing. So you guys don't have to worry about any of that for quite a while, 9 months. Yeah. So, all right, you want to show us this application?
Sure. Okay. So obviously we have this nice apply for the 2022 makeover button. And that'll pull up the application for you. And right at the top, we have the application dates and times, just as a reminder. And then just the basic entry details. So first name, last name, and then most importantly, your entry type. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm applying as a team captain. But if you're applying as an individual, select individual, team member, and right here we have the fees, but remember, if you've already done an individual or a team captain entry, you're not going to be charged that $150 to apply as a team member, but you should still submit a team member application in order to join the team. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is team RRP. And here I would list my team members. Going to make Kirsten my team member. And if you're filling this out as a team member, it's going to ask you to give the name of your team captain. And here you're going to select your saddle pad type. The saddle pads are per horse, not per team member. So you have all-purpose dressage or a Western saddle blanket. And then here we have our horse count. It should show 1 through 3. I already have an application that's drafted, so it's just showing us 1 through 2. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm taking 1 horse as a team captain. Then
The saddle pads are a completion gift that we
Yes.
give out in October, but we have to order them like many, many months ahead of time. So that's why we're asking this at this stage.
Yes.
So it's apparently random, but well, actually it's explained there. So never mind, keep going. Good on us.
So make sure to check your email, and that it's the correct email and it's the one that you check. If it's not, send me an email and we can fix that from your account. Don't go and make a new account. Use the same account, same login. But if that email is incorrect, send me an email and we can change the email that is associated with your account. And that is super important because that is how we're going to contact you for everything. Besides text messages, which is the next part. Occasionally we'll send text message reminders. So right here, this is just asking yes or no. Do we have permission to send you those text messages? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. They're very helpful. Those are kind of our like 11th hour reminders. So if you're someone that likes to leave things till last minute, you're going to want to select yes, so that you can get a text message from me at noon the day before something's due telling you, hey, we don't have your horse registration. You might want to submit that, because if not, then we're going to consider you withdrawn. So that's very important that you meet all of those deadlines. And then here, your mailing address, important for all kinds of things. Birth date, this is where we're going to determine whether or not you're a junior, or if you would fall into the amateur or professional category. Just go ahead and do mine. Well, or not. Everyone knows how old I am. And here, in the past 2 years, have you been compensated in any way for riding, training, or giving lessons? This would include any type of riding or lessons, including exercise riding at the track, and any type of compensation, including reduced board or product. So this is how we're going to determine whether or not you fall into the amateur or professional category. So if you're an exercise rider, even though you might not be what you could consider a professional in the horse show world, you are a professional because you are receiving compensation for riding and training. So make sure you select that appropriately.
So this roughly follows the USCF's definition of amateur versus professional. I understand USCF is in the middle of formulating that, reformulating that, but this is the kind of boundary that we have set, and that works well for us. I think it's worth pointing out that the USCF considers fundraising for the purposes of attending events like this to be something that would be that would make you a professional. We do not mind, but we encourage people to look at their federation, whatever it is that they're showing under, and just make sure that any of those fundraising activities that you might do to participate in the makeover would not affect your status with whatever federation you're showing under.
The experience section is definitely the most important part of the application process. As said here, we break it down. It's designed to generate a horseman's resume. It's what the application committee is really going to be focusing on. It's going to tell us a whole lot about your experience as an equestrian in different disciplines, your showing experience, your training experience, etc. So this is the part you really want to pay attention to and make sure you're putting your best foot forward and giving us as much information as you possibly can. So the first part, you're going to select the discipline that you are most likely to compete in at this year's makeover. Again, this doesn't lock you into entering this discipline come final entry in August. This is just to give us a better idea of what you plan to enter in, and you can base this off of, this is the horse that I'm bringing, and I think that this is what we're gonna do, or you can base it off of, this is what kind of riding I do, and this is what I'm most likely going to do at the makeover. That can change, but regardless, you're just gonna put, at this point in time, this is what I think I'm most likely gonna compete in October.
This is basically just establishing a basis or a lens for the application committee to use to assess everything that you're gonna give us after this point. So, this is a big reason for why we re-engineered this process, is based on feedback from previous application committees, like the answers, the way the answers were structured with a lot of narrative and just room for interpretation was not teasing out enough information to make consistent decisions. So that's why it's broken out into so many more questions this year.
And I'm going to select eventing, which will automatically, because I'm selecting a jumping discipline, that's going to be noted on my application. And I'm going to be required to submit jumping video, which we'll get to later. So these are pretty self-explanatory. How long have you been riding? Select what best applies. How many years experience do you have riding green horses? And how many horses have you been personally responsible for caring for in your life? I personally interpret this as, like, if you've been a working student and you've been personally responsible for caring for a lot of horses, over 10. If this is, if you haven't been a working student, and this is your first horse, and this is your first time really being involved in that process, then you might select one. Then how many years have you been riding competitively? Is this your first season? Do you not really show, and the makeovers maybe your entrance into that, or have you been showing competitively for a very long time?
And I want to add that having a significant experience or history showing is not a mandatory requirement for admission or acceptance into the makeover. But at the end of the day, you are still navigating towards a horse show. So what I'm getting at is, if you're a cowboy and you don't go to horse shows all the time, like, we're going to understand that that's not a significant part of what you do, but just bear in mind that you're navigating towards this horse show. So just you're going to be ultimately going to need to kind of understand some of the kind of ins and outs of horse showing to have a good time at this event.
Yeah, and make sure you're getting off property and everything like that. But yeah, it's not make or break whether or not you've been showing your whole life or even recently, but if you're working towards this goal, we hope that you're getting out there between now and October and learning a bit more about horse shows, or just taking your horse off property, especially if you're doing something like competitive trail or ranch work, which is not necessarily going to be like the same as going into the under saddle portion for hunters. But so that brings us into the show record. So do you have a show record with publicly available results under a national governing body, so USEF or something similar, in the last 10 years? And here we'll have a drop-down menu for all the different associations. And if you have other, select other, tell us what it is, and give us the ID number.
So what this means is we're going to go look at your USEF or similar record. So please, if you don't have a record, just skip this and say no. Because otherwise we're going to go looking for you, and then if you don't want us finding what's there or what isn't there, then just don't include it in this application.
And this is going to be really helpful to, if you are someone that maybe your video is from 2019 and that's as recent as you're going to be able to get, but you just haven't had someone to film you, but you've had a lot of show results in the past couple of years. Make sure you're putting your ID number there so we can look up those show results.
Yeah, show results can really help round out a picture if the video is lacking.
Yeah. I don't remember my ID number, so I'm just not going to put that. Are you or have you been a member of Pony Club? So if you're a current member, you're going to provide us with your highest rating certification. I think it'll ask you the same thing as a graduate. I was not a member of Pony Club, so I'm going to select no. And here you're going to list any equine related affiliations. So that's certificates, licenses, memberships that you hold and for how long. So 4-H, CHA, are you a licensed exercise rider, member of your local horse show association, riding club, volunteerism at an aftercare facility, pretty much anything that you can think of. So hunt with a recognized hunt, put that there. If you volunteer at an aftercare facility, anything that involved that you can think of to put there, please list it all. Do you have anything to add about that section?
No, this is just kind of meant to be the catch-all. Like if there are things that are relevant to your experience that are not adequately represented in the kind of yes or no questions above, include that here.
And here you're going to check any of the types of riding in which you have significant experience in. And with each box that you check,
So don't be arbitrary here, because this is going to trigger the application asking you for specifics on your background in that discipline. So if you did a dressage test once at a 4-H show, like 20 years ago, like don't check that. That's not.
Check something that you're really going to say, this is what I do in this discipline on a regular basis. Or if it was, 2-3 years ago, but that used to be your main discipline and you did have a lot of experience there, make sure to include that as well. So if I grew up in hunter jumpers, I'm going to select that. I do eventing now. So obviously I have some experience in dressage as well. I've gone fox hunting twice, but I'm not going to select fox hunting because I went and hunted with a friend, right? So that's not really a significant experience for me. And in here, you're going to put pretty much everything. Who do you train with? How often do you train with them? If it's dressage, what level, what specific skills are you working on? If you have show experience, local shows, rated shows, it doesn't matter. List that experience there, list the class sizes, list your scores, list your placings, and same thing for hunters and eventing. We really want everything. So, and if you were a working student for a trainer in hunters, list that. I was working student for X trainer for X amount of years. I attended clinics under this clinician for eventing, whatever it is, any relevant information for that discipline and your experience in that discipline, list it all. We want to know it all. So that we can really get a well-rounded picture of your experience. And if there's something that does not seem to be captured in the disciplines that we've listed here, we have a box as well to tell us about any additional experience that you don't feel is sufficiently documented above. Anything there that you maybe did not see a box for that you have sufficient experience in, list it there, explain to us what your experience is. Same thing goes that you would have put in the other boxes. And then why do you want to enter the Thoroughbred Makeover? Obviously, this is going to be a different answer for everybody. It could be that you got a special horse and this is something you want to do with them. Maybe this is something you do every year and you just like the experience. Whatever your personal reason is for wanting to come and compete in October or go through this whole process, let us know there. Do you have anything to add about that question in particular? And do you currently or do you plan to work with a trainer / professional during your makeover training process? If so, who and how frequently? Is anyone else helping you along the way? Please provide the names and explain the roles of those involved in your preparation for the makeover. So I want to stress that we absolutely encourage people to work with a trainer throughout the process. So this isn't supposed to be like a question of where like, oh no, you're working with a trainer, you're not allowed to do that, anything like that. This helps us know if you're a junior.
The correct answer is I have help.
Yes. Yeah. So, if you have a trainer that you take weekly lessons with, right there, give us their name, and tell us what, are you taking dressage lessons with them? Are you taking jumping lessons with them? Are they going to put training rides on your horse once a week? Let us know all of that. And other people as well. Do you have a parent that's really going to be supporting you along the way? tell us about them and how they're going to help you along the process. Are they driving the trailer so that you can go to these like off-site opportunities, whatever it is, whoever's helping you along the way, let us know about them and tell us about your support system. That's going to help you have a successful experience in October. And along the same lines is going to be your references. So you're going to give us the name, phone number, and relationship of 2 people that can speak to your horsemanship and riding ability. So this can't be a family member or people that are employed by you, but this can be your trainer. This can be, I guess, your farrier. It can be a friend, someone that can really speak to your ability to train a horse and have a successful experience in October.
And make sure that
Yes.
these people are adequately like expecting to provide a reference on your behalf. We have, it has happened on rare occasion where we have called references, and, references tend to be like we're really having a hard time putting together a complete picture about this person. What can you tell us? And there have been unfortunate times where the person that was listed as a reference was not prepared to give a positive recommendation for the applicant. So just
Check with
give them a
first.
little nudge and make
Yeah,
sure that
yeah.
they're down with
Double
the-
check with them first before you give us their contact information. And they don't have to write a letter ahead of time. If we end up needing to speak to your references, we're going to contact them directly. But make sure you reach out to them and say, hey, can I list you as a reference on my application? Are you willing to speak to my horsemanship and riding ability? And then we move on to everyone's favorite section, the videos. This
covers what we have
Yes.
talked about ad nauseam.
Yeah, so I'm not
far.
going to reread all of this, but it's going to link you to the sample video. It's going to explain everything that we want to see in the videos and why we want to see them. So here you're going to provide a link. So we do require that videos are available in URL form. I ask that you upload them to YouTube over anything else, but definitely not Instagram, no TikToks. Those are not the appropriate formats, but like Vimeo would work as well, but YouTube, it seems to be the best. So you're going to upload your video to YouTube and provide us with the link here. And then there is a text box for some comments. So just tell us a bit about when this video took place, what you're doing, tell us about the horse that you're riding. Is this a well-schooled horse? Is it a green horse? Is it your horse? Is it a friend's horse? Are you taking a lesson? Like, is it your first time riding the horse? Is this at a show? What show is it? How did you end up doing?
This kind of context can be incredibly helpful for the
Yeah.
application committee. Sometimes, we're seeing things in the video where it's just like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Like, this person, this pair looks like maybe they're not familiar, or, if a horse is being a little naughty or fractious, like, give us the context, tell us what's going on here, rather than just like, here's a link, like draw whatever conclusions you care to draw.
Yeah. If it's an IEA show, like, we're going to want to know that. If you show us a video of you showing, but we don't know that this is a horse that you just pulled out of a hat 2 minutes ago, it's going to be really helpful for us to have that information. Did you get on this horse because it was misbehaving for a client and you had to get on and do a training ride? That would explain a lot sometimes. So that's good information to know as well. And the same thing would go obviously for the jumping video and the discipline video. And there is a spot here for additional video. If you have, you want to provide, you don't plan on maybe doing freestyle, but you have some fun video of you doing liberty work, provide it. We'll watch it. We'd love to see it. But that is also something that I didn't mention earlier. If you are planning on doing freestyle, you do still need to provide video of you riding under saddle, walk, trot, canter in both directions. And then we would expect in your discipline specific video to see you doing some freestyle work, whether that's liberty, bridleless, whatever you think you're probably going to end up doing in your freestyle routine at the makeover. Show us a bit about that. And again, if you happen to have all of your videos uploaded under one link, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're copying and pasting that link in each URL box so that we know that, the first 2 minutes might be flat, but eventually we're going to see you jumping a course. And here we have the upload section for your vet recommendation letter, pretty simple. You're gonna click choose file, you're gonna upload your application, your vet reference, and then you've completed the application. And as of right now, your only option would be to save application because it's not January 3rd yet. So you'll save your application and it'll bring you back to the portal. As of, I think it should direct you to fill out your waiver.
Yeah, there's a participation agreement, which is an indemnification, but it's also an acknowledgement of receipt of rules, following our trainer code of conduct, that sort of thing. So it's a participation agreement that we are signing digitally this year. There's no uploading forms or anything like that. That's required from all participants. So to be clear, right now it says save, but until you hit submit, your application is not on file with us. So it's very important that if you take advantage of this drafting period and you are like working on it and saving your work and coming back, that sometime between January 3rd and 21st, you come back in here and you hit that submit button. We do send email confirmations for the submission, so check your confirmation. It has a summary of what is on your application. And if that didn't come through, you want to contact us and find out why you didn't get an application, didn't get the confirmation. That's either because the email address that you gave us is invalid, which we should fix, or there's a problem and we really have not received your application. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So it's going to take you from competitor agreement, and then when you come back to the competitor portal, there will be a button available for you to pay your fees, and that will automatically populate with your balance due. And you can go through PayPal and use a PayPal account or a credit card or debit card or whatever. So these are kind of like the big parts. Like you've got to do this application. You have to upload a vet letter. You can also upload the vet letter separately. You don't have to do it as a part of the application submission. You can come back to the competitor portal and add it. You have to do that participation agreement and you have to do your fees. And your application isn't complete without those. And we're not going to send you an invoice and we're not going to chase you down for any of these. If they're missing as of December 21st, we're moving on with the January 21st, we're moving on with the application period and we're just going to put you on the wait list. Okay. You guys have to be responsible for checking and making sure that things are done and on time, and reaching out to us proactively if you need help or if anything seems to be amiss.
Yeah, so all of that we remind you of over here. So it's 5 p.m. on January 21st. You need to make sure you have all of those things and your application is not considered complete, and we will not be accepting any sort of late entries after that date. Anything after that date is going to be automatically put as waitlist pending, and we will review your application once we have those missing requirements, and then you will be placed on the wait list. So same thing with the submit application, but make sure you are clicking the save application button when you are drafting it. It's not like Google Docs, it's not going to automatically save. So make sure you're hitting that save application button. You can, even if you just come in here and you check your entry details, you do a couple things and you're like, that's it for the day. Come down here, click save application, and you can come back to it later. I'm not going to save this, so I'm just going to click return to portal. And just to show you guys a bit, you can sign, if it doesn't auto-populate with the competitor agreement, you can click the sign competitor agreement here. It's going to bring you to that waiver and you can fill that out here, sign it, submit it, and you have that part done. And this fee button right now, it does not work, but you can see right here, because I have one team captain application in, my amount owed right now is $300. I can click the pay fees button and I can pay my entry fees. And so if you are applying as a team captain, and then again as an individual, you're going to complete that team captain application, then you're going to click the apply for the 2022 makeover button again and submit a separate application. But if you've just saved your team captain application and you want to work on it, click complete. It'll open up your draft. You'll be able to work on it some more. You can save or submit it. Eventually this actions column is going to turn into a drop down menu, and that's where you can upload your vet letter if you don't upload it through the application. And it's where you can register your horse as well. We are also now going to allow everyone to start registering their horses. I believe it's on, is it February 15th? January 15th?
So that's the other thing, and it's not hooked up at the moment, but you will have the option now to complete your horse registration after you have hit submit on trainer application. That's just something that we added in this year. Horse registrations have traditionally opened immediately upon trainer acceptance announcement. But we figured that, you know, we're always pushing to try to make sure that we're documenting the horses that are have been acquired to compete in the makeover. And so reducing the number of times that people have to log in to complete paperwork, we thought we would go ahead and add it in, just so you guys can have kind of a one-stop experience. So you can go ahead if you want to, you can loop right back through after doing your trainer application, and you can go ahead and put in your horse registration. We won't be reviewing horse registrations until after trainer acceptances are announced, but those will be available as soon as you hit submit and all the way through July 31st, I think. 29th.
Yes, 29th, July 29th.
So that it's not on a weekday.
Yes.
So
I think that about covers the application,
Right.
unless there's anything else you think we need to go over in the portal, but I think that's everything for now.
check questions.
Yeah.
here. Nothing in Zoom. Don't see anything new on Facebook. I'll probably stop sharing. So this is a lot of information. I get it. And it's only, it grows every year just based off of our experiences, you know, things that transpired throughout the year, things that transpired at the event. You know, all rule books for any kind of event like this are going to kind of continue to grow and evolve over the years as the event grows and evolves. And that's all good. It's just, it's maturity, it's learning from your experiences, which we are big fans of here at the RRP. But I think it's important, you know, we've spent a lot of time harping on, you have to get your information in, you have to read the rules, you have to, like, you know, make a video and make it look like this and all that sort of thing. And I can understand how that would feel overwhelming. At the end of the day, we're here to help you. We want to have you in this event. We want to have you experience bringing a horse along. And we hope that you don't get entirely overwhelmed and go running, screaming for the hills. We really are here to help you. And, you know, this is just all information. And I really feel that being an informed participant is the best kind of participant. But in all seriousness, please don't be too overwhelmed by it. You know, we're just trying to make sure that we're doing our due diligence as a hosting entity, and just trying to make sure that the event achieves what it's supposed to as a showcase of these horses, and that everybody has a good time. And so this is, you know, us putting in our own boundaries in terms of what we need to make sure that we can deliver on that. And that's a two-way street with you guys as participants. So again, we're here to help. Take advantage of our availability and willingness to help. Reach out, you know, preferably before the 11th hour, but you know, we're always here to do whatever we can to help everybody out.
I'm seeing just a couple of questions.
I see
Yeah.
Amy wants to know, what will the jump courses be set at? So that here's a good opportunity to have a look through the rule book and familiarize yourself with all the discipline formats, because that is all detailed there. There is no discipline that offers lower than 2.6, and there is no discipline that offers greater than 3.3. So there's a couple of options depending on which discipline it is, but you can go have a look in the rule book and see which options are available by discipline.
Mhm. And for the videos, your jumps must be set no lower than 2.6. And I believe Amy asked about the videos as well. We went over that quite a bit in the beginning of this webinar and not too long ago. So I would highly suggest that you go back and rewatch this a bit, especially if you're just tuning in now. and you'll probably really want to watch this whole thing because we go over a lot of important information, not just the video. And so yes, if your horse, obviously your makeover horse does not need to be jumping 2.6 by January, but if someone is competing and you anticipate that they're going to be showing in a jumping discipline at the makeover, you will need to provide a video of them jumping 2.6 or higher. You can always enter as a non-jumping discipline for now if you don't feel like you're ready to show that video. And if it comes time to final around August and you're ready to enter a jumping discipline, you're going to need to submit a video of you jumping a course of 2.6 or higher in order for us to lift that restriction. And we'll have to bring that back to the application committee. So there's no guarantees that we would lift that jumping restriction, but you can absolutely submit a video to have it lifted.
Yeah, and this all goes back to making sure that, you know, the riders that we're accepting into competition now have the ability to perform the test that is required of them in competition. You know, we appreciate that a lot of people want to give this event a shot, that it's popular and exciting, and you know, everybody kind of wants to say that they've done it. But truthfully, if your rider is not yet jumping 2.6 as a rider on their own, this might not be the goal for them this year. I'm not saying never, but it's truly, you know, it's not an event for every discipline or every ability level. So I would just keep that in mind as you're weighing whether or not this is the year to take this on.
Absolutely. So, Jennifer, what would you select if you have shown on and off your entire riding career of 30 plus years? If you think you've shown collectively for over 10 of those years, select over 10. You know, it doesn't have to be consistently showing for all 30. I know I have definitely taken some breaks off of riding entirely, let alone showing. So we just want to know how many years in total you've had experience showing. It does not have to be back to back.
All right, well, I think we are going to wind it down. Half of this recording will be available on YouTube later, but if you're watching on Facebook, it does put it in the video section of our main Facebook page, so you can come back and watch it at any time that way. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Let's take one more look over at Zoom here. I don't see any questions. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing your applications soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.